Hey everyone, welcome back to the best U.S. Mint news channel on YouTube. I'm Son of a Silver Stacker. Today's date is the 10th of March 2025, and in this video we're going to be talking Lincoln cents and Jefferson nickels. That's right, these are very important coins for 2025 and possibly even 2026 and beyond. But before any of that, if you're new here, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to reach a bazillion subs. It's a tremendous number. Not sure exactly what the number is though, but it's got to be ginormous. Also, we're always live, never edited, and always unscripted. I never know what I'm not going to say. Now, over here to moneymetals.com, looks like everything's mostly flat. Gold's down 8 1/4 to 8.95 to 29.1225. Silver's down 6 cents to 32.68. Platinum up $1.45 to 985.45. Palladium down $1.05 to 985.60. There's that parity, and I do think that when this parity releases itself from each other, I think gold and silver are going to go gonzo, either up or down. Not sure exactly, but this is locking it all in, I think. Now, Dr. Copper's up a penny to 467. That's amazing. And yeah, that has a lot to do with what we're going to be talking about today. Now, for a quantity of 1 through 39, the in-stock American Silver Eagles premium is 649. That total is 39.17, and they will buy them back for 33.94 each. 33.94 is definitely more than 32.68, so that's interesting. Now, over here to Numismatic News. This is an article by Patrick Heller dated March 6th. This is about 4 days ago now. Title of this article is, Are U.S. Cents Worth Hoarding? That's an interesting question, right? And if you haven't asked yourself that question since you've been coin collecting, well, here's your big moment in the hot sun. With the U.S. Mint halting cent production, some are hoarding Lincoln cents in hopes of future profit. But with billions in circulation and strict melting restrictions, is it worth the effort or just a costly gamble? Now, I would say it depends when you started collecting these post and pre zinc and cents, right? That's a huge part of it because the ratio of zinc and cents back in 1982, well, that was the first year. So most of the coins you came across, well, 99% of them, I would imagine, were copper, right? So that was amazing. And then after that, well, the United States Mint, up until, just last year, went gonzo with those Lincoln cents. There's billions and billions of them, like Carl Sagan would say, in circulation. All right, let's keep on keeping on. It says here, this week's column was prompted by conversations at a local business gathering. Multiple attendees told me that either they or someone they knew were accumulating Lincoln cents from circulation as a direct response to the recent announcement that the U.S. Mint had halted their production. So it sounds like to me that some of these folks have only just recently started collecting these zinc and cents. And really, what's the ratio between the copper and the zinc? And I think there's better ways to spend your time and money because, I mean, if you're just going to be searching through all of these pennies, sorting out the zinc and cents, I would imagine time is money for some people. And if you got all kinds of time, that's amazing. Now, it says here, the idea of hoarding U.S. cents comes from the anticipation that they may become a rarity worth a premium someday. And like I said, people have been doing this since 1982. And I think that's pre-Jedi. Now, it says here, is that an idea worth tying up money and space in hopes of striking it rich? I doubt it. Money and space. That's one thing. That's interesting. I got an article to share with you about money and space here. It's really clever. The U.S. Mint has struck almost 400 billion copper-coated zinc and cents from 1982 to today. That's a whole lot. It's 400 billion, right? That's about 1,200 coins for every resident of the United States of America. It doesn't say citizens, it just says resident. The metal content of these coins is roughly 3/4 of 1 cent today. What are they trying to say? We'll find out. Another about 150 billion Lincoln cents were struck with the Lincoln Memorial Reverse from 1959 to 1982. Their content is 95% copper from 1959 to 1962. The other 5% was a mixture of zinc and tin. From 1963 to 1982, the other 5% was zinc. The current metal value of these coins is around 2 3/4 cents, right? That's the current metal value. Now, is that what they meant for this one? 3/4 of the metal value? Maybe. Could be just a typo. Ever since, or maybe me not understanding it is what he's trying to say. Not even understood. All right, ever since the Mint switched over to copper-coated zinc and cents in 1982, I've known several people who have hoarded the earlier 95% copper issues. At today's metal value, that might appear to be a bargain. And, you probably know, or you might be that person who has actually, was aware enough to say, hey, I'm going to collect those, right? Now, however, as of 2007, oops, and that was a whole lot of years past 1982, right? So could you have melted them down? Well, before 2007? Yeah, probably. It says here, however, as of 2007, there are and these legal restrictions are pretty tight. Legal restrictions on melting or exporting U.S. cents and nickels. These coins can be legally melted down if used in a personal project, such as making jewelry. Otherwise, it is not legal to melt them down. And I don't think a paperweight is jewelry, right? So it says here, also in 2007, the U.S. government imposed a limit of $5 face value on the quantity of cents and nickels that a traveler may take out of the United States. So yeah, 10 rolls of pennies, that's it. I don't know what you can do with those 10 rolls of pennies, but yeah, there they are. Now it says here, in addition, a limit of $100 face value per package of cents and nickels can be exported. These limitations impose such a high cost to exporting these coins that it is not economically feasible to arrange to melt them beyond America's borders. Yeah, you're not going to, it's just interesting, isn't it? I mean, you're not going across the border to go melt them. Beyond considering the economics of melting 95% copper Lincoln cents, you must consider the impact of inflation on the money supply. The people still hoarding U.S. silver certificates after the Treasury stopped redeeming them for silver in 1968 have lost most of their purchasing power while waiting for their collective value to rise. And you could probably sell those for a few bucks more than face, I would imagine. But yeah, it's you're not getting silver, that's for sure. I suspect the same will occur with those who opt to hoard Lincoln cents. There are so many of these coins in private hands right now that they will never be rare. But is it the rarity that people are valuing or the metal content, right? That will be especially true with restrictions imposed on melting U.S. cents and nickels that do not apply to American silver or gold coins. And I suspect, folks, that when the United States stops striking nickels and Lincoln cents, that they may actually want the copper and the nickel back. Yeah, that's valuable metal. In fact, nickel and copper have been deemed a strategic metal, not only because of green energy, but for, a lot of, let's face it, it's war. They need those products in war. That's why they switched over to the 1943 steel cent, because they needed the copper, right? So there's something to consider about that. Now, when they do ask for the money back, I imagine they'll give you a window to return that money, the coins, okay? And I think that coins have more intrinsic value, metal content, right, than paper money, right? Paper. Metal content, right? And you're probably going to get 100% value for the first year, maybe 6 months, 9 months. And then after that, they'll say, well, if you wait past a year, you'll get 75% of face value, and so on and so forth, then 50% of face value, then 25% of face value. And then at that point, maybe 5-10 years down the line, if you haven't turned them back in, at that point, you may be able to melt them. But who knows? They may make that very restrictive. Now, it says here, the U.S. dollar is destined. The U.S. dollar is destined to continue losing purchasing power faster than the value of these cents might appreciate as collect. So that, that could be right, because the Federal Reserve states that its target for the dollar's purchasing power to direct, and this 2% each year. That's their 50 years later, right? Imagine that's 100% gonzo. Bye bye. Yeah, every 50 years. That's amazing. The actual rate of purchasing power decline over the past half century has averaged much worse than their target. In my judgment, hoarding Lincoln cents won't be worth it. So that's the bottom line, folks. He answered the question. But I know a lot of us feel differently, right? It says here, and sure, readers know a lot of people who pull copper, nickel Kennedy half dollars and $2 Federal Reserve notes out of circulation when they see them. It's always possible that such people and those who are now hoarding Lincoln cents may someday become numismatists. Isn't that something? Well, aren't they already if they're pulling them out? I mean, they know something about something, right? And that's interesting. So there it is. Now let's keep on keeping. I got some questions to ask, and that was numismaticnews.net from Patrick Heller. Let's keep on keeping on. Now it says here, how many pennies is a pound? Well, it says here about 145 pure copper pennies weigh 1 pound. The copper plated zinc and cents, well, that's 181 of those bad boys. But check this out, older, thinner, and worn out pennies, right? The copper ones weigh more than the new copper plated zinc and cents. So that's interesting. So 145 pennies. Well, if I wanted to purchase a pound of pennies, all right, is that an alliteration? I don't even know. But check this out. These folks are selling pennies by the pound. And how many pennies? Yeah, $1.45. Is that right? $1.45. But they're selling them for, as you can see, here's Amazon, here's Coins TV, here's eBay, here's Etsy. Yeah, those are not $1.45. And I don't know what the shipping is. There's 11. Wow, yeah, 5-pound bag. That's amazing. $24.75, $124, and $29 for Lincoln pennies. Pennies by the pound. Those are pre-82 for $129. See, folks. So maybe, just maybe, the article doesn't realize yet that people are selling their copper cents for good money already. Yeah. It's just incredible. Now let's keep on keeping on. This is a question. A pound of nickels is approximately 91 nickels, right? And we don't have to worry about pre or post 82 because it's copper and it's nickel and that's it. Now, I was asking the question, how come people aren't selling nickels by the pound much like they do copper? Well, turns out they do, just not as many, but they're out there. Look at this. Vintage Liberty nickels. This box, not doing it. There's Apmex. Yeah, those are war nickels, and they have 35% silver in them, so that's kind of amazing. But people are, selling nickels, but it's not like you would think, right? And do you have any boxes of nickels at your house? I imagine you do. Now, check this out. If you do, you probably agree with this gentleman here. Now, this is John T. Reed, author, and I will leave this link in the description. This is posted by John T. Reed on February 5, 2018. It says here, investing in tens of thousands of dollars worth of nickels. So he stipulates here, suppose you have a net worth of $5 million and you want to put 1% of your assets into nickels. Well, that would be $50,000, right? You can do the math. Cars, do you have any assets worth that much? Assets? I have a 2018 Lexus that costs twice that. Is it practical? Sure. But where do I keep it? In the garage. All right. Real estate, zero cost to buy nickels and zero cost to sell back. You just have to pay for gas, right? And time. Next, no commission, no buy sell. Advantages to lower value per pound assets. Not counterfeited or robbed because they're really heavy, right? Really interesting article here. I will leave it in the description, like I said. Now let's go over here to Coin Apps right here, coinapps.com, and you can check how much each one's worth. Now we're here at, let me update the prices so that we have the latest, greatest. So if you have a box of pre-82, right there, pre-82, Lincoln cents, it's worth $72.25, right? That's a good bit of money considering it's a $25 box of Lincolns. Now look at this. If you got the zinc cents, if you got 50 rolls of that bad boy, yeah, it's only worth 1876, 1877. Now what's interesting, if zinc goes gonzo, and let's just say it goes to $3 a pound, right, and makes this $4 or $45, I still am not touching it. Something about zinc I'm not into. So let me go ahead and update prices, and we're going to do the nickel, as it were. Now let's do 50 here, 50 rolls in a box. It's $112.60. But we know that this has been $125, $130 before, just in the few recent years ago, 2021, 2022. And it could go gonzo again. I mean, look at the prices here of copper at $467. And those are futures. So if I do 467 right there, whoops, I can't use a plus sign. That's not good. Yeah, 117 now, right? It's 117. It was 112 or so. Yeah, there's the update right there. Pretty interesting, folks. So these could rapidly change. And with the tariffs going on and the trade wars going on, I would suspect that metal prices and metal and governments are going to be hoarding their metal and not getting out into the markets. That's right. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Now let's go to those plus ones. I have really good ones for you here today. This is Psalm 127, 120 and 7, right? I am peace, but when I speak, they are for war. And I think what that means is they shout for war because they view the Lord's appeal for peace as a sign of weakness and vulnerability. Yowza! Isn't peace a good thing? Shouldn't we seek peace and actively pursue it and turn away from evil? Yeah, I would think so. Now let's bounce over here to 99.9 KOIN Coin News Radio. Whoa, this is the Cranberries. Zombies. Yeah, with lyrics. Yeah, cool lyrics. Yeah, right there. It's an anti-war song, if you can believe it. Are you anti-war? Me too. We can be friends. Now, with that said, I want to thank y'all for coming. Thanks for dropping by. Don't forget to hit that like button. And if you do like what you're hearing, say, please sub the channel. It's absolutely free. Now, if you want to spend a little didge, yeah, you might want to become a member. It's $1.99 a month. It's the price of a cheap cup of coffee once per month. And you get to spend all this time with me in the morning. Also, hey, you know what? I also got rid of this. If you want to make a monetary donation, yeah, that's cool and everything. But I'd rather have you get something really cool, like a Stacker mug, a Stacker hoodie, maybe a Stacker beanie, a t-shirt, or maybe a trucker hat. But really, you know where it's at? Right here. You know what? Let me, I don't know if we have some of the older ones like Mercury dimes, but let me see what we can do. Here's a quarter finder. Let's just do this real quick. Like I got a few seconds to show here. Now, this is amazing, folks. This mat has been designed to help quarter hunters find rare and valuable coins quickly and efficiently. You spend less time referencing the book, going back to YouTube, back and forth. It's all right here. Look at this, 2020W all, right? There's a LM, a CR, and a V75. What's CR?